Hachayo Nohel, hello everyone and welcome back to the Mayan Daykeeper. Today we are back for the second episode of the show, the Mayan Talk, and I have back here with me our ich that you all know, Apabienteo. How are you doing, Tat? And welcome back to the show again.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. I'm quite well. I'm happy to attend to be present also for any sort of questions, any sort of clarifications, or to guide you into what you would want to know about the authentic ways of counting time from the Highlands.
Amazing. And Todd, as you mentioned, you are traveling to Nawaha, and you're going to spend probably Washaki Bat over there, right? We are just about to restart the cycle in the Chorkir. So I think maybe it could be a good idea for us to start the show talking about Washaki Bats for those who doesn't know anything in the calendar. What can you tell us about like the importance of the Washaki Bats, what it is, for the people start to understanding?
Well, first of all, it's true. I'm going to go to my town, NAWAL, after some absence due to pandemia and personal affairs, right? Yes, also it is true. Washli Bats is going to be celebrated during my traveling on. So after some years that I haven't been there, I'm going to be very happy to lead a ceremony and to conduct and to do all the cultural procedures that belong to that big and important ceremony in the Highlands, and especially for us, the keepers. So, differentially from what is, let's say, a celebration outside the lands, in this case, we add all the cultural elements surrounding the atmosphere of the music, the dance, the dressing of the Mayans, and the way to celebrate. Along with the Huasque Baths, we also celebrate our own culture, life, endurance, resistance against cultural invasion. So the calendar is going to be restarted, but differentially from what is the usual way of a thought in which something begins and something closed. Washqibat entangles the philosophy that there's a continuity rather than finalizing or starting. This in here is the continuity, or if you will want to blend both concepts, the restarting in reality is a continuity. So for us, there's no beginning and there's no end. There's no way to say time has finished and now we do it again. No. And precisely one of the clues to understand this is the NAWAL chosen by our ancestors to do the celebration. That is Washqib, that is number 8, ocho, which is in the Nawalil comprehension and nature of Nawals. 8 is the one that brings back the return, reinitiation. That's why I was using restarting. The way of a something that returns, or the way of a something that following a cycle presents itself once again. And bats, which is the thread of time, and interconnectivity or interconnection. But in this case, I would want to say, yes, the term can apply as, for example, the phenomena in the brain, interconnection, or even if you would want to say so, as the communication between all the elements that compose the human body, as when you are sad and your stomach is in pain, or when you are happy and your bloodstream also goes along with you, or associated phenomena, but also, and more important, lekemapal, which is the triad and the, let's say, the arts of weaving in the Mayan ways, in which an embroidery over a canvas or the art of weaving is precisely equivalent to connecting the dots and interweaving different factors to arrive to a resolution, an idea, or a comprehension of a phenomenon. Then, Washqi Bats is going to be the day in which the continuity is not an starting, it's a restarting in interconnections, interconnectivity, or the embroidery of time, the continuity of the thread. This is differentially from other foundations in calendars in which the beginning is Hunimosh or Hunimish or Sesipatli in the central Mexico calendar or some other related calendars, which initiate in what can be comprehensible to be understood like one the beginning or one the first step, and Sipatli the water or the crocodile, the alligator, if you want to say, as something that comes from the surface over the water. In this case, we don't put that much attention to that, but to the phenomena that there's no end. So we restart and continue. In that day, the celebration is the biggest in the highlands. You can see hundreds of people working simultaneously, big ceremonies, small ceremonies, candle ceremonies, different ways of ceremonies, and sometimes peculiarly, if you go to a specific altar, you will have to wait and share the space or work simultaneously, or even adding yourself by invitation to some other ceremonies. Usually is a communal ceremony. Everybody's invited, everybody can participate. There are, according to the area, there are different foods to be shared, different activities to be developed. But the celebration is that, the celebration of time. Also, another way to understand this is the way in which we, the Maya, are always portrayed as the carriers of time, the burden of time. So this is the day in which the spiritual guide is going to say, I am here. In the continuity or in the restarting, or as to say, it does not matter what has been happening. I am here. I will be here. So, among some spiritual practices, the declaration, the way of speaking, the flowery way, it is about that. I'm here. I continue. I go along with the flow of time. I will be tracking and reckoning time. So Oshkibat is such a huge, amazing, important ceremonies in some towns. Yeah, and according to some lineage practices, this is the day in which the apprentices are going to receive their ceremonial regalia, sometimes including cloth also, sometimes a hat, sometimes the beautiful shirt, but most important, the instruments that you are going to use to count time. For us, it's very important to hold that and to have the recognition of the community, because differentially from what happens in what it can be called like an enlightenment path, which is valid also in Maya, but which differentially from that, the merely act that in that day you are receiving your ceremonial regalia, it indicates that you are at the service of the community. You are presented also. You are introduced not only to the forces of the universe, the sky, the earth, or the ancestors, but also to the community. And from then on, you are not longer the one that you were. Now you are a spiritual guide, and over you is not going you it's going to be on your shoulders, not only the wave of time, but also the social responsibility of being also an intermediary in between peoples, and if you want to say like this, illness and healing, the flowery words to express and to talk and to intervene as an advocate for people in front of, without any religious expression, we can say the universe. You are going to be the advocate for people. We call it those that are going to speak, that are going to make the act of an advocate in front of the universe, the reality. So the spiritual guide who receives the vara, that is the way of being calling for the ceremonial regalia, is from now on a differentiated person in community, but very important, at the service of the community, the common, the utzbalil, the utzukaslimal, the well-being of the community. For people like me that has to travel continuously, it is still the same. Without recognition of the community, or even recognize the recognition of your own teacher, well, you can pretend, you can fake, but for us, it's very important to be introduced as a member, as a member in society, following the millenarium teachings of our elders.
Oh, amazing to hear about that, to get to know like what's the real meaning of the Washaki Bats. And talking about that, are there like the most famous places where all the spiritual guys used to go, to celebrate Washaki Bats? Or usually, they just stay something very local in their own towns, for their own people? Or there is something like somewhere they can go and do like a bigger celebration? Is that a
That is a particular, very interesting question, because the what I will call the science also of healing, and what can also be told as to the philosophy of understanding our position in the world, is something that is going to determine precisely where you are going to go to offer a ceremony. For example, it is not the same if you go to the top of a mountain. It is not the same if you go inside a cave, or if you go or choose a spring. There's also another, a spring and a cavern. Number 8, by the nature of the social community element that it represents, indicates already that the ceremony is open. So usually, Washkepas is celebrated precisely in the center of the community, or in a specific place that already is a point of reunion for the community. It depends on the possibilities, and possibilities, I mean economically, for go or or for to try to reach a place, and also for your own possibilities as what you can offer. But some people can also use their own patios in the house, or stuff that it means more like the adaptation of what can I do. But following the ancient ways and the traditional ways, number 8 indicates communal center place. So sometimes there are already very well known places in which is going to be represented. That's why you can assist. You can even go to see, and specific mountains who hold already some what we call contemporarily the archaeological sites. That for us is different. We call it kakatzak, the red houses of the ancestors. It is also valid because obviously a ceremonial place like that has a plaza, and a plaza that has been used during hundreds, if not millennial years. So is open and in the center, or open in the nucleus of an already selected place that is already communal. Number 8, or the NAWAL 8, Washqib, already entangles that idea. It has to be open, and it is for the community.
Oh, amazing to learn that. Because usually, I think of the most documentaries, that just shows, it's just people going to Tikal, things that happen, in those more famous sites. Thanks for opening up on that. And something else that I would like to talk in here, that there were like two people that asked in the channel. They were asking about the Mayan marriage. Can you talk about like the special things that can happen like during Mayan wedding, Mayan marriage?
Okay, now let me say for all the publics that for all the audience that need a public conversation. Well, now we are going to really shift the subject. Now, marriage. Marriage is called kulanim in Maya, and kul is the morpheme that is going to be understood as meeting, reunion, joining, joint also, focusing by the conjugation of to make a translation for too easy to be understood in Spanish or in English, the means to be united. Because there's a ceremony, there's a specific ceremony that follows a specific, let's say, protocol, procedures, but there's something that is previous to that ceremony, which is in Mayan lands and in some towns and in traditional families, the most important ceremony to be done. And that is when you ask the bride, which entangles a lot of protocols and diplomacy, basically starting from the point in which, let's say, you fall in love. You begin to treat, you begin to be with a person, you begin to be recognized by the family, being introduced to the family. Obviously, there could be rejection, acceptance, whatever the phenomena. But there's a moment in which the woman and the man, there has been some other cases in which homosexual people have entered. There has been also variations in the acceptance or in the ways of procedures. But anyways, Maya people is prepared and also ready to also understand that. Let's say, speaking about the basic way, uh, a man and a woman arrive to the moment in which they will want to get married. So, independently to the big ceremony, the fire or the moment, the ceremonial and the place selected for that, very important in the Mayan ways, is when you go and ask the bride. In some places, that ceremony is even more important than the actual union ceremony, is a ceremony by blood. But before the actual ceremony, asking the bride in some cases is even holding more weight, more importance. It is considered to be the union not only of the woman and the man, but also the union of the family. That's it, the present living members, but also the ancestors who are going to authorize. Depending on the way of following the tradition, I will say that there's an introduction, there's the introduction of the subject to the parents of the woman, the acceptance, reaching an agreement, the offering of gifts as to represent the man or the pretender, in this case, capabilities and honesty. And after the agreement, there's a Kamalbe, the guide of the road or the guide, which usually is a ceremonial singer, a person that has to be very keen in the knowledge of the old ways of the flowery poetry. And that is the man that is usually a man, mostly a man that is going to be dealing in a way of negotiating with the woman's parents for to introduce and present this boy. There's going to be a back and forth. It's a long ceremony in which the bride and the groom, they are nailed all the time. There's some ceremonial procedures to make it happen. There's the coming back with the coming back and forth with dialogue. Some of them including, in some occasions, hiring another Kamalbe, another guide of the road to say, well, I don't like, I do like. Also, there's a coming back and forth negotiation that sometimes include very specific dialogues as this woman, why do you want to marry this woman? Listen, for example, there's one dialogue that goes like, in this moment you are seeing her so beauty, so young, so blooming. But are you prepared to see later on this woman full of wrinkles, no hair, maybe she's going to be without feet? And they began to tell you the truth. Because we aged. It does not matter how. But they began with the obvious thing. Are you ready to jump in the night if she's ill? And is so she does not know how to wave. She wakes up on passing after 1 p.m. So it's like coming back and forth. But there's also the participation of people who will be doing also the same. Are you sure? Are you sure? Depending on town, depending on the variations, and also on the procedures of the family, this can be not only resolved in one single session, it can be different ones. Sometimes the family of the bride will not accept, and they don't even open the door, and the people come with a procession and the gifts and everything, and maybe they are rejected since the beginning. That is, and I'm speaking in a broad sense. This ceremony, the first ceremonial dialogue for asking the bride is even more important. So Kulanem already expressed the act of having united, because the previous ceremony holds that weight. Obviously, we are human beings. There's also the stealing of the bride, in which you jump all the procedures, you just steal the bride, and then you have to hire a ceremonial kamalbe or a singer or a member of your family to go to the woman's family to make another ceremony that is called chupiq al, that is closing the fire, like extinguishing the fire will be the translation in English. And there's another procedures, but in that way you are forcing the stuff. But also exists the chupiq al, the other way. Then you arrive to the moment of ceremony. The Mayan ceremony is conducted, the Mayan ceremony after this is conducted by a spiritual guide. The spiritual guide will also do the same. Are you sure that you will want to get married? Do you really will want to proceed? This is the moment in which you can already say no, and it is okay. Uh, the godfather, the grandmother telling you the realities of a marriage. They really told you what is this about. And all the dialogues will include money, healthiness, losing the beauty or whatever, right? And the ceremony obviously has to be picked up to be done in a specific day of the Mayan calendar, mm, according to the NAWALs, according to the traditions of the town. There's an interchange of gifts. There are additional ceremonial speech. They are left alone with the fire. They have to talk one to one to make their own promises and vows. And then everybody is united and there's a party. So, and this is a millenarium ceremony. This was not invented. This is not based on contemporary criteria. This is conducted so ceremonially and so beautifully. In some cases, even for the choosing of the day of a marriage, the Daykeeper has to make what in contemporary days is called divination. For us, it's not divination, it's reckoning time, counting the time, and to see which is the more appropriate moment. Sometimes they already proceed with the previous ceremony, but the was not invited. And then the sees that there's something that is not functioning correct, as for example, that they have their same NAWAL or NAWALs that are not compatible. So the has to fight hard to tell them what can come in for them if they will want to proceed. It is a matter of understanding specifically the NAWALs, specifically knowing your nature and in which ways, according to the NAWAL of the bride or the groom, you are going to proceed or to continue, or the dynamics that can come. That's why even in both ceremonies, the selected ones to conduct are going to remark what is the reality. Yes, it is beauty to get married. It is beauty to start a new life. It is beauty to build a house or a family. But also, you have to be sure, and you have to be sure of what can also can come, right? The Maya way entangles clarity and translucency, transparency. That has to be a foundation of a marriage since the beginning, and that is something that is proper to both ceremonies. And not only in the highlands of Guatemala, also in the highlands of Chiapas. Sometimes it even seems that it's fighting for you to not to get married, because why are you saying that about me? But it's the procedure. You have to be sure.
Well, amazing, Todd. So it's quite a quest, to get married. That you have to face all these truths to really make sure all of these people just putting all the possibilities in your head to make you ponder, 1,000 times to make sure like you're not getting married out of a blindness, or at least trying to reduce that. So then to make sure, so I think after conquering, I think these stages is already a victory.
There has been cases in which, after all the ceremonial chantings and speech, one of them can break. There, I have seen faces, very sad faces, when they arrive to the altar with the face of what they already told me, and stuff like that. Some things has changed. For example, in the old ways, virginity or the man to be able to sustain a family was already tested in different ways. Sometimes some of the procedures were like the woman going to work on the man's household, receiving orders from the mother-in-law, not already the mother-in-law, from the mother of the groom, just to see if the mother accepts. There are variations and different things that are already practiced, but there's also adaptation to new situations.
Yeah, very interesting to learn about that. And for the last subject, I think you already started to open up a little bit, because I was about to ask you later. And I think that's something that people would love to hear about that. Are there any auspicious days, for getting married? Because I know, like, for many people who are listening to this video, watching these videos, like, would like to know, like, if they're about to get married, like, how can choose a day, or the day is better chosen when just consulting a spiritual guide, because it varies from people.
Well, there are standard Nawals, as to say. For example, Nawal Bats is good because it's the thread and you are united.
Mm.
Nawal E is another selected day because it's the day of the path and your partner is going to be on your path. For example, some people, when the woman is already pregnant, some people choose Ishbalam, the Jaguar, to have a predominance for the woman to have a good continuity. Ahmaq in some places could be chosen as complementarity. Or if, for example, the woman already had kids, or the man, right? And they participate. Elderly people also. Some people will choose Kame because it's the ancestors, or they will want to direct the ceremony also to be honoring their own ancestors. Depending also on the culture of the spiritual guide he needs to choose, or the Nawals of the bride and the groom to understand. But let's say that in a standard way, bats and E will be one of the days more chosen to be done, but also sometimes related to the Nawal of them or the necessities. Some
Mm-hmm.
numbers also could entangle, like not auspicious ways as number 4, number 2, number 9, are usually, number 11 are usually not chosen. You will choose a 13, you will use a 8, you will use a 7, 3, but not to risk number 5. For example, it's a conjugation. What has to be understood is that although there could be a standardized stuff, anyways, by following the rules of interaction and dynamics of Nawals, you can go organic, analyzing her Nawal, his Nawal, her condition, his condition, the place to be chosen, and you can arrive to another resolution. But mostly what I have said will be the chosen days. Number 1, number 3, number 7, number 8, 10, 12, and 13. Very auspicious. Bats, E, Ishbalam, Ahmaq. Tihash is not to be chosen unless maybe one of the members is Tihash. As I was saying, Kawuk. Hunahu is another good day. Some people choose Kame, as I said. Keh for the strength, but it depends. The it has to choose wisely, but I already give you some ideas.
Yeah, that's great. So everyone watching, if you are about to get married, and if you like what we are discussing here, you know, the contact for reaching Tata Pabiantel is going to be here down below in the description. And I think we covered so many amazing things today, because I see that people were interested to learn about this marriage, you know, subject. So it was great to start opening up about that, because I haven't seen online people talking about that. And so it was great that now it's available for everybody to understand how the Maya marriages work. So Tal, we can wrap it up for today. It was great having this new episode with you, covering this new subject. And kamo, nimalar, kinkamawar.
Mahlalh.